What's going on YouTube? So the compact crossover segment is the largest segment in the US market, which is why there are so many offerings from every brand inside of it. Now the Volkswagen Tiguan is one of those offerings. However, it has largely been ignored versus juggernauts like the RAV4 and CR-V. Well, they are hoping to change that right now with this all-new Tiguan. They're trying to jump to the top of the class in terms of luxury and features, while also keeping the price well below most of the main rivals. So, did they pull off the difficult task of beating the rivals and for less money? Well, let's go ahead and find out. So let's get things started here with our spec dump. This new generation continues to have a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder under the hood, but with more power this year, 201 horsepower. It's paired to an 8-speed automatic transmission. You have front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive models, and this all-wheel drive model is rated at 25 mpg combined.
Now the base price for the Tiguan this year is $29,500, and if you're looking to buy one or any new vehicle, we'd encourage you to go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes to get the best price. Now later on in this drive, we're going to be taking it out for a spin so you can see that performance. We'll also be getting things like our sound level reading.
But let's go ahead and close up the hood so we can take a look at this brand new exterior and the interior. So starting off here with our exterior design, obviously you'll see we've got a very fresh and modern look for this Tiguan, very much in line with all the latest Volkswagen products. So there's going to be the same trim level structure as the previous generation on board. What you're looking at right now is the SEL R-Line. This is going to be your top trim level in the lineup for the 2025 model year. You're going to have nice aggressive fascia through here with kind of a honeycomb finish, a gloss black look as well. And then another key element of the exterior design is going to be with our lighting. So let's kind of dig into that. First of all, you will have standard full LED lights on all models. However, since we've got this top trim level, this is going to be an adaptive LED as well. They're very premium looking. And then you've got your turn signal indicator running across the top right there. Because this is the top model, we also have the light bar, which is going to pass between our two headlights, and the logo itself is going to be illuminated. So it has a very distinct look at night. You're going to see a lot more lighting throughout this vehicle. They've really done a good job of keeping up the ambience even at nighttime. Now moving into the wheels, obviously we're going to have all new designs for this all new generation, but Volkswagen has also upsized the sizing of the wheels for this new generation. So the standard model will start with 17-inch alloys. However, if you get anything except that base trim, you will get 19 or 20-inch alloys. These are the 20-inch options here on the top model. Of course, we have the nice contrast finish. They really look quite nice, and that's about an inch larger than the max size you see on most of the competition. We also have gloss black finish here around our wheel surrounds. This part's going to be body color though. Little subtle R-line badging right there. In terms of our mirrors, you have standard heating and standard blind spot monitoring on all models. Power folding is on this top trim.
Now at the side of the all-new Tiguan, the overall vehicle length is about 184.4 inches, which actually means that this new generation is a little bit smaller than the previous generation model by about 2 inches. We'll see how that translates to space a little bit later on, but as far as design elements are concerned, we do have a little bit of chrome on the top of our windows that kind of sweeps into the rear. We also have raised roof rails up top, and speaking of the roof, you can get a two-tone roof option on this Tiguan. It's available on some of your upper end examples. You can actually get it on this one as well, and it really looks fantastic if you check that box. It's only about $395 as well. And as far as new colors, you have several new colors, including an avocado green and this sandstone right here. Now, as we move around to the back of the Tiguan, you will once again see that very premium kind of miniature Audi design language, and I really think it looks fantastic here in person. So as far as some of the design elements, you will notice that we have a spoiler up top, we have a wiper right through the center section, and then once again, just like the front, we have the full-length lighting. Lighting is really a big part of this new Tiguan, and you will see that every single element in this taillight unit itself is going to be LED. So you'll notice the brake light, the reverse light, and the turn signal indicator, which is that nice amber color, is all LED. We additionally have the lighted Volkswagen logo on the higher end examples, Tiguan branding, and then as we drop down to the lower fascia, this is all going to be kind of a sporty mesh design. No exposed exhaust outlets, but I do want to mention your tow rating is 1,800 pounds for all-wheel drive, which is up 300 over the previous gen. Now this is a family-oriented segment, and Volkswagen knows that as well, so they are including every single one of your active safety features as standard equipment this model year. That will even include things like travel assist, which is a highway assist function. But guys, there is a very premium cabin I think will very much surprise you. But first, if you're new here, we're brothers and we've been reviewing cars since we were 12
and 16. We started young, and since then we have reviewed over 2,000 vehicles at every price point.
No matter what you're looking for, from humble to high-end, we'd love for you to subscribe to be a part of our Car Confections family.
Let's learn a lot and have some fun with all the latest cars. Now today we're in beautiful Montana, but as you can see the weather's not so beautiful today. Let's go ahead and get inside. Before we do, here's our key fob. It's your typical Volkswagen key fob, really nice and high quality. You have standard smart entry, and remote start is standard on all but the base trim level. Now to get inside, just reach behind the handle. That will unlock the door. And then welcome inside this new cabin. I think you're going to be very impressed with all that this model is delivering, especially on this top example. But before we get into those individual details, let's start by talking about our seats. So standard is going to be a cloth seat on your base trim. Your middle two trims will come with a leatherette seat. And then when you choose the top example, this is going to get you a full real leather seat. As you can see, really nice looking design on board. We've got a lot of quilted patterns going on through it, perforation. It's a two-tone, so we got the gray and black plus the white piping. You can also get a brown color option on this top example if you want that extra level of richness. As far as the adjustments are concerned, you have got a standard power seat. We also have some additional functions on this top example, including 2 extra ways of lumbar support, and then this button right here. This is actually a power massage function. So that's a super rare feature to see in this segment of vehicle, and I'm certainly impressed that Volkswagen is bringing that to this category. Furthermore, we've got our memory seats located right up here on the top, and this is for both the driver's side and the passenger side on the top model. But let's go ahead and climb inside. Now let's look around at the rest of the cabin materials. Like I mentioned at the introduction, Volkswagen is really trying to deliver a very premium ambience inside of this interior, and it does seem like they really nailed that. So starting out over here on our door trim, we've got, of course, a leatherette material through here as well as through here. More of that color contrast piping. Soft touch plastic along the top with a stitching detail. As we move to the upper dashboard, this is all soft touch plastic with stitching. And then right through here, we actually have a real wood trim on this top example. This is an American walnut. It feels very nice and looks super premium for the segment. They've also done a lot with lighting. So through here, as well as on all of your door trims, you've got a lot of advanced ambient lighting. Kind of lights up with this cool design that shines through this trim at night. Really looks very nice. So go ahead and kind of insert a picture so you can get a perspective of that, and it's fully customizable with a lot of different choices. As we move to the center part here, we've got a little bit of piano black through the center, and then we've got a nice leather material that lines the console here. Everything feels very solid, as you expect for a German vehicle. Now our standard push button start is now located right here on the dash. So like always, let's jump into some individual features, and we'll start out right here with our gauge cluster. So we've got a brand new 10.25 inch digital cluster. This is standard on every single model, even the base trim level, and you have all the typical customizability. So you can click on this button right here on the steering wheel. This will change the design, and then you've got several different screens that you can cycle between for additional information right over there. Now, furthermore, And something I really want to point out is that we've got a head-up display up there at the top. Some of the rivals don't offer a head-up display at all, but Volkswagen actually includes this on the SE R-Line Black, so that's the second to top trim. So you can get a head-up display for as little as 35 grand, so that's pretty impressive. Now, as we pull back to the steering wheel, got the typical Volkswagen design. It's flat bottom with the R-Line branding. We have physical buttons up here, including for our heated steering wheel on the top model. The wheel itself is manual tilt and telescoping. Rain-sensing wipers are included on all trims. Now, let's turn over here and take a look at interior storage. So, first of all, we've got an adjustable center console here, so this can actually slide back, and it can also be adjusted upwards to whatever is comfortable. When I open it up, we've got a little tray right here. You can take that out, and inside you'll see that we've got a pretty good amount of space. It's a little narrow, and we've got one donut inside. We're traveling, like I said, so we couldn't bring all of our donuts with us. We look forward to doing a full donut test back home in Kentucky to check that volume. Also in front of that, you'll notice that we've got a little clip here. This is your wireless phone charging pad, so your phone kind of slides in and stands upright. It's 15 watts, so pretty fast. It's also ventilated, and it's standard on all trims. Got your couple cup holders right there. A little bit more storage right there on the side. Now, obviously, there's no shifter right here, as you can see. That's because it's now moved up here to the column, like many new Volkswagen products. You're just going to twist up for drive, no paddle shifters. And then reverse is going the opposite way. You've got a standard backup camera, of course, with parking sensors for both the front and the rear. When you get this top trim, this will get you the 360-degree camera system. So you've got the nice standard view as well as the overhead view. You can switch between a few different views as well, and it comes with the parking assist function on this model. Just press the end there for park. And then you've got to have an electronic parking brake, but with no brake hold. Now that we're down here in the center, this is an area I want to go ahead and discuss. So obviously kind of where the shifter used to be, we've got this prominent volume knob, but it's not just a volume knob. As you kind of approach it, you'll notice that it has a proximity sensor and it lights up. And then kind of like an Apple Watch, you can interact with this. So if you press down on this, this actually takes us into the ambient lighting settings. And then it also can take us into the drive modes. So this now becomes the drive mode controller, like so. And then swipe over, and this actually changes our different atmospheres, as Volkswagen calls them, which is basically kind of our ambient light version. So pretty neat that this is multi-function and actually a little touchscreen right there. Now, let's talk about the audio system. So the top trim level comes with a 12-speaker Harman Kardon sound system, and we'll give it a sample right now. Yeah, overall sound quality of this system is quite nice. We also sampled yesterday a lower trim level with the standard sound system, and it also sounded just fine for you people that aren't like big audiophiles. You might not need that extra upgrade. All right, so let's move next into this area. So obviously we've got a huge screen on board, and a lot of functions are going to be inside of this screen. So right here on our lower panel, it's a little hard to see with the reflections. We've got 3 different sliders. So these 2 are going to be the sliders to control the climate. So you can adjust the temperature up and down just by swiping on this. We also retain the volume slider from other Volkswagen models. So in many models, this would be the only way to adjust the volume, but as I already showed you, you do have a physical volume knob on this Tiguan. Now, as far as these climate controls, these are going to be 3-zone automatic on the top trim, dual-zone auto on the other models. You can click the little climate button to get into all these additional functions with this large menu. Also down here, you've got your heated seats. That's on most models, and then ventilated seats are on your top trim level as well. Now, I'll click right there, and it'll take us kind of back into our main system. Let me actually get back to the home screen. There we go. So as I was talking about, this display is absolutely enormous. So standard on all models is a 12.9-inch display. which that by itself is huge. But if you choose this top trim, you actually upgrade that to 15 inches. That's certainly one of the very largest screens you can get in this entire segment. This also sets really close to the driving position and is tilted towards the driver. So when you're navigating and stuff, it's very prominent, really close up to you. And the graphics here really are nice and crisp. This is MIB4, so this is the newest iteration. Previously, they've been criticized for some performance issues. This certainly seems like a nice improvement. Definitely everything is good and responsive and a little bit easier to understand than it was before. As far as features that you might want to know about, the top trim comes standard with the navigation system. Hold on, let me go back to the map. There's the map. We also have wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay on board. And as you can see, that really fills up that display super nicely. As we take a look up top here, we've got an auto dimming mirror with the frameless design on our top trims. You have a touch-sensitive panel here to swipe back the sunshade for the panoramic sunroof. This will actually be included on your top 2 trim levels.
But this is a family SUV after all, so let's dive into the rear seat area of the all-new Tiguan. Now, when it comes to this, I think you'll be very pleasantly surprised because, as you're probably seeing right off the bat, there is a lot of space. Now, like I said on the outside, this vehicle is about 2 inches shorter than the previous generation, so it's a big question mark as to how, spacious this rear seat area and cargo department will be. But I'm happy to tell you, at least here in the second row, we have really good figures. So we're looking at 40 inches of leg room and about 38 inches of headroom. Now, those are both really, really good figures. They're going to best a lot of the options in this segment, and it's actually up about 1.5 inches in terms of leg room over the previous generation. So even though it's smaller on the outside, you're getting more space here in the second row. That's really quite nice. Now, of course, we brought along the official Car Confections ruler. That's because we want to see how much knee room we have realistically. The seat is adjusted to Drew, who is 5'8". I'm 5'9", and we are sitting at 9 inches of additional knee room. That's really nice. Also, my feet can easily slide up underneath of the seat. The seats themselves do not recline, so that is something worth noting. They're just kind of this fixed position. Then if we fold down the center armrest, there are 2 cup holders inside. And let's talk about features. So here in the center, we do have vents, and like Drew mentioned in the front, we have our own zone of climate. So that's really super rare in this segment. I think only the Nissan Rogue and Outlander have the extra zone of climate in the back. And we have heated back seats included on this top end example. 2 USB-C ports down below that. And then if you look over at the door trim, it is going to be a little bit cheaper than the front. So the top part is going to be a hard touch material as compared to a soft touch. But we do still get the ambient lighting here in the back, which I'm happy with. Branded speaker grills, leatherette armrest portion, and quite a bit of bottle storage. Now walking up to the tailgate, we do have a Power One on all but the base model. If you choose this top end example, that will also include your hands-free ability as well. And then let's go ahead and talk about the cargo space. Now, unfortunately, I don't have the official numbers on this all-new generation yet. For whatever reason, Volkswagen has not released those at the time of us filming this video, so we can't tell you officially how big it is. However, of course, I do this for a living. We've reviewed everything in the segment, so if I fold these seats down, which by the way, they do fold 60-40 split, it is looking like a pretty good amount of space. I'm not going to say that this is probably as big as the previous generation. I'm thinking it's maybe a little bit of a slight reduction in overall cargo capacity. Just here in the back, it doesn't look quite as big to me. The previous model was sitting at about 76 cubic feet. I'd say maybe around 70 cubic feet would be a good estimation for this new model, but keep in mind, none of those figures are official yet. Now, by the way, if you are looking to see how maybe this compares to some of the competition, we'd encourage you to go to carconfections.com/vehicle rankings. Now, the reason you do that is because we've gone through all of the numerous compact SUVs in this segment, and we've ranked them in individual categories that might matter more or less to you. Things like cargo capacity, technology, powertrain choices, reliability, resale value, all of those things, even luxury features, are broken down for you. So we'd highly recommend you check that out and make an informed buying decision, because there's a ton of options and you want to know all of your choices. Now, back to the Tiguan. Let's go ahead and get our cargo length, width, and height figures. That's something we can get you. So behind Drew's 5'8" driving position, to the rear of the cargo area, we're sitting at about 73 inches of length. From behind the second row, about 37 inches of length. Let's go ahead and get our width. That's going to be sitting at 42 inches wide. And then let me go ahead and do my best to get the height, even though we have the cargo cover installed. We'll be sitting right around that 30-inch mark at the highest point. Now keep in mind it does kind of slope off towards the end here, and we're only looking at about 15 inches tall. As far as the overall load-in height, it's going to be about 29 inches. Now I'm liking that they have handles to fold the seats in the cargo area, which is nice. We also do have a spare tire. However, one thing you will notice that's missing from the previous generation model is a third row is no longer offered on the Tiguan. That's a feature that's certainly not expected in this segment, but it used to offer it, and this new one is not offering that third row. Well guys, here we are behind the wheel of the all-new Volkswagen Tiguan. In this test drive, we're going to be discussing quite a few different things. As you can see on the screen right now, we'll also be getting things like our sound level reading. But first, we need to go ahead and start with a hard acceleration so you can see what the powertrain is like.
And that was 60 miles an hour with this new Tiguan. Now, as we were talking about at the beginning in the spec dump, the engine is still a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder, just like the previous generation. But what's critical here is that they have dialed up the horsepower figure and the torque. So we now have 201 horsepower and 221 pound-feet of torque with this all-wheel drive example. That is 17 more horsepower than the previous generation, and really kind of puts it in line with the competition. What it was previously was on the lower side. Yeah. A lot of the rivals are getting up to that about 200 or a little above 200 mark, and this certainly gets it in that sweet spot.
Yeah, and overall, I think the power feels pretty darn good when you accelerate. The only thing I will point out is that it takes a second for the turbo to build there, so when you just stomp it from a dead stop in the normal drive mode, it does take a second for it to kick in, but when it does, you really feel that 221 pound-feet of torque.
Alright, so that was the sport mode, accelerating. We're going a little downhill. Yeah, definitely some turbo lag off the start there. Pretty pronounced turbo lag. But even with that, still feels pretty responsive for this segment. Obviously, this is not a segment of fast vehicles. Performance is not the main focus, but you want enough power so you can feel safe when you're merging and things like that. And I think that this vehicle is certainly hitting that criteria. And then the other thing I want to mention is the fact that we have more power incoming. So yeah. There's going to be a turbo model added to the lineup. It's not available quite yet, but it's coming for the 2026 model year. And that is going to take the same engine and change a lot of the internal components and really elevate the power quite a lot. I believe it's 268 horsepower, right?
Yes, that is correct. And basically what that means is that is the exact same motor from the Audi Q5. So, you saw the, interior experience, the exterior as well. There's a lot of luxury inside this cabin. So if you want to wait for that turbo model to come out, you'll even get the same powertrain as a base Q5. So that's really something worth noting, that you're going to have, more of a luxurious powertrain experience incoming in the future. Volkswagen has also said, although the details on the hybrid are not as, official as the turbo, they have said that there will be a hybrid offered in the Tiguan lineup. Now, we, don't have any details as if that's next model year or maybe the year after, but there will be a hybrid coming soon, but it is not available just yet. All right, and we found a pretty straight stretch of road here in Bozeman, Montana to get our sound level rating. So let's go ahead and do that. We have it on fan speed 1. 57.5 decibels is what we are sitting at as our sound level reading. We don't have to sit here and guess how it compares to its numerous rivals. We can find that at carconfections.com/sound level readings. Now, I do want to point a couple things out about, that sound level reading. First of all, as I just mentioned, we are in Bozeman, Montana. We're on the National Media Launch Program for this model, so the roads out here are quite a bit rougher than our normal road conditions in Kentucky, and as you can see, Mother Nature has unleashed her wrath on us filming today. Lots of rain. So those are two things definitely working against that sound level reading, but to get that, under 60 decibels, 57, that's really not that bad considering those two conditions, and we are certainly looking forward to getting this model on loan for a week in Kentucky so we can get that official sound level reading. Honestly, guys, just after spending some time with this model today, I would expect this to be one of the very quietest options in the segment. The reason I say that is because it does have a very refined feel inside of this cabin. It feels kind of miniature Audi-esque design, and in terms of the sound deadening and overall experience. So I'm thinking this is going to be a very quiet option for the segment.
Now, as far as the other element of the powertrain, we've got an 8-speed automatic transmission. Throughout the course of our drive today, it's been a great partner to this engine. When you put your foot down, you don't have to wait too long to get a kick down of multiple gears and get plenty of power delivered to you. It's pretty smooth as well. Of course, noteworthy, and I always try to point this out, a lot of the competition, probably most of the competition actually has a continuously variable transmissions on their rivals to this model. So if you like that traditional transmission feel, this is one of the only models that's giving you that traditional transmission.
Yeah. And as far as how power is routed to the ground, you do have standard front-wheel drive on your lower-end trim levels. If you want all-wheel drive, you can option that on, or you can get this top-end trim level where it is standard equipment. It will also be standard equipment on that upcoming turbo variant. But let's go ahead and talk about fuel economy as well, because, like Drew was mentioning, this has a traditional automatic transmission, unlike some of the rivals. And the area that will cost you a little bit is in terms of your fuel economy. So it's not terrible, so don't think that. But front-wheel drive is going to come in at 26.34.29. So that is going to be slightly less than some of the rivals that are sitting right around that 30 mpg mark in their standard gas configurations. The all-wheel drive drops all the way down to 25 mpg. So you have a 4 mpg deficit for the all-wheel drive. So that's definitely something worth noting. 25 mpg is not that great for this segment, especially if you're looking at some of the rivals that have hybridized options that get 38, 39, 40 mpg combined. You will be paying a lot more at the pump, at least until that new hybrid variant of this vehicle comes out. All right, and we are turning out onto a beautiful road, and this one's a little bit of a rougher road, so let's go ahead and discuss ride quality. So we've been driving around, yesterday and all morning long in this all-new Tiguan, and when it comes to a ride, it is pretty good. Now, I do want to point out that we do have some really large wheels for this segment. They're 20 inches on the outside. You saw them. They look beautiful. However, one thing, that sacrifices a little bit with that is the ride quality. If you hit some larger intrusions in the road, a lot of that does penetrate into the cabin. So this is certainly not like the smoothest or most refined ride quality in the segment. It does feel good for my taste personally, but for those of you looking for the most comfortable ride in the segment, this is not going to be it. It's also not going to be quite on like a level of a CX-50 or anything like that. That one's definitely on the sportier and firm side. This is kind of a good middle ground, but you can feel some of those intrusions inside. So just keep that in mind when you're making your wheel selections. One thing I also want to talk about are these seats. I think both Drew and I have been very pleasantly surprised with these seats inside of here. They're really comfortable, and guess what? I'm also getting a massage right now. That goes not just for the driver's seat, but also here in the passenger seat.
Yeah.
So I was kind of surprised to see that on both the front seats. So really, really nice stuff. It's a pretty good massage. It's certainly not like a Mercedes or BMW level massage, but it's pretty nice.
So we've also got some corners that we can kind of go around here and show off a little bit of the driving dynamics. Again, not a huge focus, especially on your standard version. We'll have a little bit higher expectations when we go to that upcoming turbo, but pretty good. Of course, you have a little bit of that German athleticism baked in. Mason was talking about, the ride being slightly stiffer. I think because of that, you do have less body roll than what the average vehicle in this segment is exhibiting. Feels pretty balanced as well. The steering is very light, though. Even in the sport mode, you're going to be missing quite a bit of feel. But it does make it more responsive when you go into the sport mode. But yeah, you can kind of toss this around with some pretty good speed and feel pretty confident.
All right, let's get into our Car Confections Slam Dunk and Airball, which is our favorite and least favorite element about this new Tiguan. Drew, why don't you go ahead and kick us off with the Slam Dunk?
So the Slam Dunk is got to be the value and the features that you get. Not just talking about this fully loaded model, which really is still a great value, but especially as you go lower in the lineup, you don't have to get a top trim level to get a lot of really good features for the segment at a price that undercuts a lot of the competition, which really makes you add on a lot of packages to get the features that you want.
Yeah, I think going into this review, we were a little skeptical, and then as you start to see the trim levels and features that they're including, I'm very impressed, and we'll talk about the full product lineup pricing in just a second, but this model, even as tested today, is sitting just a hair over $40,000 fully loaded up, which is a great value for this segment. Now, on the Airball side of things, you probably predicted this, but the main qualms that we have with this vehicle are when it comes to the powertrain. We wish they, first of all, offered the turbo from the launch of this vehicle and didn't make us wait until 2026 model year to get that, and also the hybrid. I think the hybrid is really the bigger deal for most buyers in this segment. They want good fuel economy, and if you choose an all-wheel drive model like this, 25 mpg is going to be about 15 behind something like a RAV4 hybrid, which certainly is a big deal and can cost buyers in this segment a lot more money at the pump. And let's go ahead and discuss pricing. I think that's one of the strongest elements about this new Tiguan. So we start at $29,495 for the base S model with front-wheel drive. So under 30 grand as a starting point. You get a lot of standard features. You can see all the other trim levels on the screen right now. We end in this SEL R line, which comes standard with all-wheel drive and still is under $40,000. $39,755 is our starting point. As you can see, we don't have any options on this particular model, $39,755 plus $1,425 destination. All told, $41,180 as tested today, which I think is a really, really strong value, especially when you compare it against rivals like a RAV4. Those models can go about $45,000 fully loaded up, so I think this is a pretty strong offering, that's for sure. Now, if you're looking to buy a Volkswagen Tiguan or any new vehicle, we would encourage you to go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes. The reason you do that is because we have a tool on our website that will connect you with local car dealers in your area to get you the best price. It's also going to give you access to invoice pricing information, which is a great tool for dealership negotiation. We even have a monthly payment tool, so if you'd like to check that out, we have a link to that in our video description, as well as a pinned comment at the top of this video. And guys, buying a vehicle is about more than just the original MSRP, so let's go ahead and talk about resale and reliability. First up, let's talk about resale value. As an economics graduate myself, Drew and I took the time to develop what we think is a good estimate for this Volkswagen Tiguan's potential resale value. We estimate that after 5 years and 60,000 miles, it'll be worth 51.8% of original MSRP, and after 5 years and 10 years and 120,000 miles, 14.7%. Now, it's worth noting those are not quite as good as some of the competition that you might be looking at, such as the Honda CR-V, the Toyota RAV4, Mazda and Subaru will both be higher than that, although it's right around the industry average for all vehicle brands.
Now, we've also done the same for reliability by developing the Combined Reliability Index. This takes into account several studies on reliability from trustworthy sources and combines them in a way that gives you a holistic picture. In this regard, Volkswagen is rated well below the overall industry average for all vehicle makes.
Now, if you'd like to learn more about our resale values, our reliability information, or our methodology, be sure to go to carconfections.com/resale and carconfections.com/reliability. Buying a new vehicle is a very big decision, so you want to make sure you're making a smart purchase, especially if you're cross-shopping between different vehicle brands. Now, when it comes to your warranty, you have a 4-year, 50,000-mile, both basic and powertrain warranty. You do also get 2 years and 20,000 miles of complimentary maintenance. And guys, that wraps up our in-depth review of the all-new 2025 Volkswagen Tiguan. If you enjoyed watching this video or found it helpful in your purchasing decisions, which we really hope you did, we'd appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button down below. By subscribing, you're going to get the latest car reviews such as this, and you're also going to be a part of our Car Confections family. We strive to provide the most details and also the latest content for you all, so you won't want to miss out. If you're already a part of our family, thank you so much for your continued support, and we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.